Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching me, my name is Jenny, and in today's video, as you probably already read from the title, I'm gonna be reviewing, giving you my first impression and thoughts on this new e.l.f. Cosmetics To The Rescue palette that they did in collaboration with Jkissa. This is a beautiful rainbow eyeshadow palette, and I did experience some ups and downs in this video. So if you want to see my thoughts on this palette, swatches, and of course how to get this eye look, then don't go anywhere and let's get right into the video. So this is the new e.l.f. Cosmetics To The Rescue eyeshadow palette that they just released in collaboration with Jkissa, a beauty influencer on YouTube and on Instagram. And I just checked that it's currently sold out, but it does look like they are gonna restock it because they do have the option where you can sign up for email updates so that they can notify you once this palette is back in stock. But in the meantime, this palette does retail for $20, and I mean, we know that e.l.f. Cosmetics is pretty affordable, but this palette is so beautiful. I mean, the colors are beautiful for only $20. It's vegan and cruelty free, and you get 18 shadows within this palette. You have your matte, you have some metallic shades and some shimmers as well. I'm gonna be showing you the swatches of all of the shadows in this palette on the screen right now so that you can see the colors better. The next thing I want to talk about is the arrangement and the placement of the shadows. So for somebody like me who doesn't necessarily play with a lot of colorful shades, this is placed so beautifully. I love the way they set up the shadows. I'm not an expert in color theory, and I don't want to get into that, but I do know that certain colors blend with other colors better. So if you look at the palette from left to right, it's very easy to see the colors that you can use together. For example, the orange and yellows go perfectly together. You can use the yellows and greens and so on. And I also love that the top row is basically every single color in the rainbow, and as you move to the bottom row, it's the exact same colors but it's slightly deeper. And if you look at the last row on the bottom, it's the same tones with the exception that these are your shimmers and metallic finishes. If you want to create colorful looks, you can go from left to right and see what colors you want to use together. But if you want to create more monochromatic looks, you can totally go from top to bottom by column. But what I really wanted to talk about with this palette is the whole idea, theme, and campaign behind this palette is the awareness that this is bringing to rescuing dogs. I am a dog mom myself, and of course I'm gonna be showing you pictures right here so that you get to meet my babies. They are my everything, honestly. They mean so much to me. So that's why I was so happy when I saw this collection, because I mean the palette, because I definitely wanted to support and bring awareness that it's so important that we start rescuing more dogs. There's so many doggies that end up in shelters and they deserve to have a family. I mean, my dogs, I didn't adopt them because actually, long story short, a friend of mine's doggies ended up having babies and she needed to find a home for them. So I ended up getting 2 of the doggies from this litter. So I didn't buy my dogs, they were gifted to me. But if it would have been different, I would 100% be adopting and rescuing a dog from a shelter, because I am a huge supporter that we should be adopting more doggies instead of buying or purchasing dogs, because there's so many doggies out there, so many that end up in shelters, and they need our love, they need a home. I'm gonna leave it at that because that's a whole different subject, and I know that you're here for the review and tutorial on this palette. So without any further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So I'm gonna start off with this green matte eyeshadow called Picky. It looks very beautiful in the palette, and as I am dipping my brush in the pen, you definitely get a lot of color payoff. Hopefully this blends out really nicely. Ooh, that is very pigmented. I feel like I have to shake off some of the excess. So I'm gonna start by placing this shadow all along my crease. So far, I have to say that this matte shadow, it's really impressive. The color payoff that you get is super vibrant, but you do have to be careful when you blend it out, because I find that when you apply too much of the product and if you blend it out, it kind of disappears a little bit, but it's not that difficult to work with. And that comes from somebody, like I said, that doesn't play a lot with colorful eyeshadows. And as I am working on the outer part of the eye, I'm trying to create a V shape. I'm going to be grabbing the blue matte shadow next to it that it's called Cannoli. And once again, you get a lot of color payoff in your brush. And I'm going to try to place this blue shadow mostly on the outer part of the eye and also in the inner corner. This blue shadow is super beautiful and it definitely has a lot of pigment. I think I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush to apply the same blue shadow on the inner corner, just because I need something smaller in this area. And as I am packing on a little bit more of that blue shadow, I am experiencing a little bit of patching going on right here. So let me just grab another blending brush and see if that fixes the problem. After blending it a little bit further, I feel that it does look better. I don't see as much patchiness anymore. What do you think? Those two colors are really pigmented. That is one thing. These shadows are super pigmented. Okay, so moving on, I'm gonna grab some of my Tarte Shape Tape concealer and I'm gonna go ahead and cut the crease, and I'm just gonna speed up through this process. I'm gonna use some of this deeper blue shade called Toucher from the middle row, and I'm gonna use this shadow to kind of blend a little bit the edges between the concealer and the other shade. Okay, I'm a little bit disappointed because I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but after I added that deeper blue shade, it kind of started to patch up a little bit on the outer V. So I'm not sure if it's maybe an area where I had some dryness, or honestly, I don't know what is going on, but I'm just gonna try to fix it by adding some more of that blue shadow. That is disappointing. Alright, so I try to fix this area right here, but I don't know what is going on. I still see the patchiness, and I'm trying to use a very small brush to just pack some of that blue shadow in here to kind of like fix it, but I still see the patchiness. I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, but I'm just gonna move on because I can't spend my whole afternoon blending that out. But now I'm just gonna use the shimmer blue shadow down here that it's called Bailey. And first, I'm just gonna use my fingertip, and as you can see it, it's super pretty, very pigmented. Let's see how it works. Okay, that is really beautiful. It's super pretty. It has a chrome metallic effect that I'm definitely digging. I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush to apply this shimmery shadow towards the higher part where I cut the crease, just so that it's more detailed and a little bit more clean. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the green shimmery shade right here that it's called Regan, and I'm applying that only in the inner corner. I just feel like this is gonna tie this green to the green that we use on the crease. It's so interesting that the bottom row, I don't know, I thought that were gonna be the same formula, but this shade Regan, which is the green shimmery shade, is definitely a different formula. I just thought I will mention it so that you know that they are different formulas. And I just want you to see that there is a lot of fallout from the blue shadow specifically. So definitely make sure that you work on your eyes first and then you do your foundation last. So at first I wasn't gonna do an eyeliner, but I think I went very dramatic, so I definitely need it. So I'm gonna go off camera and do my eyeliner. Alright, so I'm back, and as you can see, I not only finished my eyeliner, but I also did my other eye and the rest of my face makeup off camera. But I wanted to come back here to finish the lower lash line with you guys on camera. And I think I'm gonna be using the blue shade that it's called Cannoli all along my lower lash line using a super petite flat brush like this one. And before I regret it, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little bit of setting powder. This is just my Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm gonna add some of it under the eyes just in case I get some fallout. I don't want to regret it later. And I'm applying this really close to the lash line. I really want to add a little bit of the shimmery green shade called Regan on the inner corner of the lower lash line. I did it on the top, and I just want to kind of like mimic that on the bottom as well. Oh yeah, that shade is beautiful. My waterline feels naked right now, so I do want to add more pop of blue with this eyeliner. This is by LA Girl Cosmetics. It is in the shade Electric. I'm going to add a little bit of mascara. This is by Laura Mercier, their Caviar Volume Mascara. Alright, so this look is finally complete, and now let's talk about this palette because I do have a few things to say. This palette definitely has some pros and some cons. Let's start off by talking about the palette itself, the color, the theme. I personally love the theme, the color, and the idea behind this palette. I love the packaging. I love that it's plain and that they give you these little stickers that are super cute for you to decorate it. I'm gonna be decorating mine in a little bit, and the price point honestly is amazing. We all know that e.l.f. Cosmetic is known to be affordable, and the palette itself, the colors are beautiful. I don't have that many colorful palettes in my collection, so for me this is a palette that I definitely wanted to get. And of course I wanted to support the cause and the awareness that this palette is bringing. So from that standpoint, I would have supported buying this palette regardless. But now when it comes to the actual palette, whether I think it's worth it or not, I personally really like the color scheme. I love that it is a rainbow palette. I don't have that many rainbow palettes in my collection, like I said, so I love that you have so many options. You have your mattes, you have your shimmers, metallic shades in here, so I think it's a very complete rainbow eyeshadow palette. And as much as I love this eye look, I mean, just look at it, it's gorgeous. I love that the colors are so vibrant and it looks beautiful on the eyes. But my problem with this palette is that I did struggle with some of the shades. I will say that the shadow that gave me the most trouble and that was coming out patchy was this deeper blue shade called Toucher. So I was not a fan of that color, but everything else honestly worked really nicely from what I tried out on my eyes. Now when it comes to the shimmers and metallic shades, just know that there is different formulas in here. The blue one was a little bit more chunky, but regardless, I love the finish. It's so metallic and so pretty. The green one was also beautiful. I used it towards the inner corner and you guys can see that it's such a beautiful shadow, but it is a different formula than the blue one. I definitely love the shimmers in this palette, and of course I was blown away with the amount of pigment that you get from this matte shadows. I mean, the pigment is there when you first apply them on your eyelids, and even when you swatch them, the color payoff is there. The problem is blendability, that when you blend them they kind of fade away. So like I said, just be aware that you might have to spend a little bit more time blending the shadows and a little bit of technique as well. So I'm really sorry that my opinion is a little bit split. I personally will get it again because all of the reasons that I just listed, but it all depends on what's important to you. I say that for the price point and the amount of shadows and the colors that you get in this palette, I would get it. But if you are somebody that doesn't want to struggle or spend more time blending your eyeshadows, then it might not be worth giving it a try. And after all, I mean, look at this eye look. It looks beautiful and I love it. So was it worth it that I did struggle with this palette a little bit to achieve this for the price? I think it was. But yeah, that is everything that I have to say. I'm sorry if my opinion was a little bit split. I definitely wanted to give you my pros and cons from my experience using this palette. Let me know in the comments down below if you are getting this palette. I want to know. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.